Welcome back to Women's Strength and Bodybuilding. My name is Mark, and you may have thought that after the Olympia, the bodybuilding fun was over for 2023. Luckily, that's not the case, because over this past weekend, there was the Romania Pro. Before we go over the results of the women's bodybuilding and physique divisions, be sure to click like and smash that subscribe button. Let's start off with women's bodybuilding. In first place was Leyvina Barros, and geez, where was this at the Olympia? She would have given the top 5 a real run for their money. She's got some seriously developed biceps. I mean, check out the size of her arms in this lifting video that she's got over on Instagram. That's some pretty insane conditioning and crazy vascularity, which is really evident in her side chest pose. This girl's the real deal, and she's got some pretty insane size. Unfortunately, first place only paid like $2,000. Like, bro, is that even enough to cover 1 month's rent? Leyvina's best feature has to be her arms, and you really don't see this amount of size, vascularity, and detail all in one competitor. And her true bicep peaks might even be on par with Andrea, or at least the right side is. So last year she competed in the Muscle Contest Pro in June, and the Olympia in December. Out of both of those placings, her conditioning looked infinitely better here. We all know there's definitely some shenanigans going on with the judging, but if she had brought this to the 2023 Olympia, I would have put her on par with Natalia Korableva, and definitely Sherry Priami, who I'm not so sure should have been in the top 5 to begin with. Leyvina looked twice as thick, detailed, and vascular here, and I wish her all the best. This was an Olympia qualifier, so hats off to her for getting it done early. And if she's able to double down and improve her conditioning next year as much as she has this year, we could be looking at a top 5 finisher in the making. Coming in second place was Anastasia Korableva, and she also brought really good size and thickness in her arms. Her quads might even be more conditioned than Leyvina's, but it was her poses from the back that made her the clear second place finisher here. Not enough separation in size in the lower to mid back and in the glutes. Forgive me if I can't show it here. YouTube isn't the biggest fan when I do. These community guidelines, man, I'm telling you. But this is a pretty impressive top 2, and we're seeing a lot of size and density in both sides of the arms, with great vascularity to match. Honestly, in looking at these two top finishers, I was reminded of the golden era with competitors like Lee Priest and Kevin Lebroni. These ladies would definitely give them a run for their money in terms of their front double and side chest poses, which is pretty exciting to think that these ladies are starting to make golden era videos like Tracy Sackman look small. Crazy times we're living in. Okay, let's continue on. In third place was Tiana Flex. Clever name, and it was just the size here that kept her from placing higher. But bro, anybody would look small in comparison to these top 2. In a lot of these photos, when you compare the 3 of them, Tiana almost looks like a physique competitor. She brought stunning definition and a great tan, but there was just too much distinguishing the top 2 this time. I'd like to see her tighten up her midsection a little bit. This is my first time covering the Romania Muscle Fest Pro, and I'd say the package Tiana brought here was really good, and enough to displace first place finishers at some of the other shows we looked at this year. Who knew that this show was going to be so competitive, especially right after the Olympia? In fourth place was MayLa Ash, who was the only one in this top 5 who also competed in this year's Olympia, where she placed 7th. You gotta hand it to her in terms of resiliency. MayLa has really hit it hard this year, and definitely has something to show for it after winning first place at the London Murray Pro over the summer. But this show is just crazy, man. She definitely got outsized here, and it really makes you wonder if we're starting to see the birth of a new generation of female bodybuilders that are bringing size, thickness, density, and vascularity on par with golden era men's divisions. Time will tell on that one. I personally would have loved to see MayLa place a little bit higher, but not this time. The competition was just too fierce in the top 3. Maybe if she picks a single show for next year and really focuses on adding more size and conditioning, she could take home a first place W at a show with the next level of prestige higher than the London Murray Pro. Rounding out 5th was Barbara de Freitas Moojen, and it was just a conditioning thing here. She brought great legs and had a good X shape to her frame in the back poses, but was holding on to a little bit of water underneath the skin. She was kind of smoothed out, and overall didn't really have that eye-popping muscularity and vascularity that the top 2 had. But overall I'd agree with the placings here. Unlike the Olympia, sometimes I can't tell if the Olympia is actually looking to find a unicorn, or if they're just judging based on the physique your eyes are drawn towards naturally. But what I do know is I guess that's why they're judges and I'm not. But I promise you this, if I was a judge, there wouldn't be any unexplained surprises like what happened to Michaela Aycock. And based on the poll I did, you guys thought the placings were fair. It was such a tough call if you ask me. And personally, I'd go with Natalia, but I can't deny that Sarah did add a lot of size and shape. Okay, enough about the Olympia. Let's move over to physique really quick. Coming in first place was Raducu, and she looked really good. She had some great arm development. I guess this show is synonymous with having the most developed arms. I mean, check out her biceps. You can see that they have a look like they're pulling down and pushing up at the same time, and that's just great development. If I was her, I would really focus on the conditioning in the mid-back and adding more size and separation to the backs of the legs. Though she looked really great here, I'd say she's a long ways off from the Olympia. She placed 15th at last year's Olympia, and also reclaimed her first place title this year at the Romania Muscle Contest. She's still a little bit too small, and her midsection isn't developed enough to be competitive at the Olympia. But since she's qualified qualified, she's got an entire year to prepare. Next up in second place was Carolyn Alves dos Santos, and we covered her a few times over the past year. At all of the shows we've covered, she's placed second, and she just can't seem to crack first place. If you remember my other videos, she's one of those rare competitors who definitely didn't skip leg day, because her legs almost overpower her upper body. It looks like she may have lost some size and conditioning from her previous shows, particularly in the upper body. It could be a lighting issue though too. She might have just had a better pump earlier in the year at the Europa Pro. Either way, she's got some good building blocks going on here, especially in the legs. If she develops her upper body for next year, she might be able to snag a first place win. In third place was Sahar Rahmani, and upon first glance I would have put her in front of Carolyn, but it was the cuts of her biceps that detracted from her physique. Also, I think Carolyn might have had more definition and separation in the midsection and in the abs poses, which is crazy because you look at Sahar in some of these front poses and you'd think that her six-pack would be just as developed in the arms overhead pose, and that's just a conditioning issue. She might be able to fix it by switching her stance up, but she did look great and I'm wishing her all the best. In fourth place was Natalia Bystrova, and this might have been her first IFBB Pro show. She definitely didn't look bad here, but wasn't on the quality and caliber of the top three, so she might want to focus up on her conditioning and development, and maybe aim for the Masters division at one of the summer shows, and try to place top 5 at the Masters Olympia, or at least that's what I would do. Rounding out fifth was Silvia Cuartero Martinez, and upon seeing her front poses I was like, how the heck did she not pose in front of Natalia? But then I saw her back poses and it was clear that Natalia had much more conditioning going on in the critical areas. If she's able to tighten up and lock those areas in, she might have a shot at the top 5 at some of the shows next year. And that wraps it up. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Your support really does mean a lot to me. If you didn't see my post, we finally made it over 2,000 subscribers. It's funny because the first 1,000 subscribers only took about 3 months, but the next 1,000 subscribers to get us to 2,000 took closer to 7 or 8. Your encouragement means a lot here because I'm pretty much doing this for free, and sometimes it can be a little bit more work than I bargained for, so I appreciate it. And please add yourself to the community by clicking subscribe so you don't miss a video.